So we will present the final lecture presentation of the day, and that is Mr. James Schmidt from the United States, and he will talk about the free energy revolution. And this now we come to the real free energy technical side of things. What is free energy? The science of free energy, past inventions, the suppression of free energy technologies, and which inventions and technologies promise to change our world in the near future. This talk will include up-to-date information on motor generators and the latest on Keshe technology. So here we present Mr. Jim Schmidt.
Hello, mein Name ist James Schmidt. Ich bin Deutsche. I am German. My grandparents came to the United States just before World War II, and I was born shortly after World War II. And I spent 7 years in the United States Air Force, 30 years in the military-industrial complex, and during this time, I worked with industry in nuclear weapons, strategic missile systems, mostly with the nuclear warhead and the guidance system. I was considered an expert in nuclear weapons effects. I'm a retired aerospace engineer with a physics degree. I'm a project manager, I'm a systems engineer, and foremost, I am a scientist. My passion is science and the bringing forth of free energy technologies to mankind. I have experimented with electromagnetic motor generators, the Bedini motor, and radiant energy from the atmosphere, earth energies, and a lot of my time is spent with electrolysis of water to generate HHO or Brown's gas. And during that process, I learned that I could transmute materials. I am currently working with geopolymer materials, sacred geometry, and researching rock toroids for Michael Tellinger. I'm currently associated with the Universal Trust, and I'm helping to identify free energy technologies and connecting them and the free energy inventors with investors. Let me go to the charts here. I'm going to share the screen and get into the main part of the talk here, and get this full screen. The main points that I want to make during this talk is that free energy is real. More so than ever, and free energy technologies are beginning to come to the marketplace. Free energy technologies are going to impact all aspects of our lives and make life so much better and give us a sustainable planet. The science of free energy is the evolution of scientific research, and from my point of view, the evolvement of science and scientific research has flatlined over the last 100 years. There is going to be a transition period for implementing free energy technologies, and renewable energies are the beginning of that transition. What is free energy? Well, free energy is that energy that is available from the universe for the taking at any time for any use. Definition by Sterling Allen. Free energy is any energy that is provided by the natural world, definition by Peter Linderman, and my own definition. Free energy is that energy that is contained within the ether that occupies all of space. And perhaps a more accurate definition, though, from a technical standpoint, is free energy devices are defined as having efficiencies greater than 100%. And solar, wind, geothermal, and sunlight can all be considered a form of free energy. Here are some of the sources of free energy. Energy can be found in many forms: thermal energy, chemical energy, electrical energy, radiant energy, and of course nuclear energy, magnetic energy, elastic, sound is an energy, mechanical energy, and luminous energy. And I probably skipped over some other sources of energy, but everything is energy, everything is frequency. So it's just a matter of what form it is and how you extract it. And, why do we care about free energy? Well, Brian O'Leary had the most the best story that I've come across, and that is defining the Earth as a spaceship. That is a planet that's headed off, a spaceship that is headed off on a long trip, and you have to generate and recycle everything that is involved in your life. And so I think here on planet Earth, we need a new operating paradigm for our current civilization, one that is self-sustaining for the long term. And our current situation, as you know, is self-destructing and not self-sustaining with the fossil fuels, nuclear fuels, and putting out carbon dioxide on this planet. We have a crisis, and there is opportunity at this point in time to change that, but not much time. Since 1940, energy usage has been up 5 times, water usage has been up 4 times, and the population is up 3 times. What is going to be the impact of free energy to society? Well, it's going to transition from a centralized energy distribution system off the grids, individualized free energy systems within each home, giving us much more freedom in how we get around, how we use energy, and particularly economic freedom. An economy without the burden of oil and nuclear power. In the process of this transition, Germany has already demonstrated that when you start transitioning into alternative energies, the renewable energies, then many jobs, many industries, new industries will be created. And so there will be no lack of a job. Free energy science and technology will spill over into all aspects of our lives, and we will transition to sustainable technologies. Everything will become recyclable, and there will be huge impact on our financial well-being as well. What is the vision of a free energy society? Well, in the travel area, you'll have fuelless electric cars, you'll have water for fuel. You know, water is 70% of our planet, and it can be a fuel, it can be many things, used for many things, including health. And so water is a very important aspect of our future that we need to worry about and control. And anti-gravity, if we can generate anti-gravity technologies, there will be no roads. We can just leave anywhere. We can disperse the large energies, the large cities. Our homes will be powered on fuelless power systems in the home, which will eliminate all the power distribution system. And then our homes will be redesigned. We'll have absorbent materials, solar homes. We'll be using radiant energy homes. Our communities will be small and spread out, and perhaps only central industrial centers with distributed power will be used for manufacturing and distribution. Local power, there will be local power generation and no power grids. Germany has led in the development and the use of renewable energies. Back in 1986, Ursula Leydek worked locally with the politicians and the utilities to create a local renewable energy energy rebellion, in which she worked with the utility companies, and the utility companies ceded to her, and she ended up being able to put together a co-op that could buy the local utility for $2.2 million. And then she began to, she worked with local politicians. They put together some policies whereby solar panels were put on the roofs of the local buildings, and they were able to sell their extra energy back to the local utility. And a lot of that money was used to offset the initial cost. Well, as a result of that, a gentleman by the name of Joseph Fell then became a politician and worked at the national level and took this to the national level in Germany and passed the Energy Resources Act, which then also allowed everybody in Germany to put solar panels up on their homes, big wind farms to to support energy in Germany and also in homes. And people could sell their energy back to the utilities. And the result and they also mandated that they would start exiting nuclear power and eliminating nuclear power, eliminating fossil fuels from the country. As a result, renewable energies have gone from 5% all the way up to 50% as of this year. And fossil fuels are beginning to go down. The Siemens Corporation has actually exited from nuclear power business and is now involved in building large wind turbines off the shore of Germany. And they now created an electro autobahn, 3 of them that go through the country and transport this energy onto the land. And they're high voltage DC lines that then interface with the local AC lines. And this model will allow a free energy device to be deployed in a very cost-effective manner. So my hat's off to Germany and the work they're doing, and it just serves as a great model for the deployment of free energies devices in the home and in industry and off the grid, and yet be able to perhaps generate energy from free energy technologies and put that energy back onto the grids. What are some of the free energy technologies that we're talking about? There's a wide range of them. The list excludes technologies that involve alternative energies, wind and solar and geothermal, but this includes hydrogen. I'll just mention the top ones here. HHO, Brown's gas, which is oxygen, hydrogen generated from water. Motor generators, low energy nuclear reaction, cold fusion, cavitation from water, electrolysis, which also involves HHO, fuel cells, kinetic energy, and wind and water turbines, plasma, electromagnetics, and as I mentioned before, water is fuel. Primary energies for new energy technologies right now in terms of research and development that closest to market include radiant energy technologies, permanent magnet motors, electrochemical processes such as would be in battery and the dissociation of water, and also fuel cells. Cold fusion can be considered maybe an electrochemical process, but also a nuclear process, and I'll get a little bit into that. Efficient thermodynamic systems already are heat and air conditioning is an over-unity device, not advertised as such, but according to my Sears and Samansky physics books, a typical air conditioning unit has a coefficient of performance of 1.06. So those are already very efficient systems and use the principles of free energy. Electromagnetic systems and plasma systems. Water itself is such a source of energy and serves all aspects of our lives for purification, hydration, and making the body work properly. But it can also be a source of fuel. A survey of free energy water technologies, including electrical dissociation of water, HHO or hydroxide gas by electrolysis, battery technologies, which are now coming into a lot of research and development is now coming into batteries being made much more efficient than using different technologies. This is very important in off-peak hours and for use of storage of energy that comes from energy development machines. Mechanical dissociation of water plasma, kinetic energy from a hydroelectric, of course, and I'm going to talk about cavitation as a source of energy. Let me take a quick drink here. Let's talk about cold fusion. The basics of cold fusion are that it use heavy water, which is 2 protons in your 2 hydrogen atoms instead of 1 in your hydrogen atom, And this heavy water is assumed to be absorbed or forced into a heavy metal like palladium or nickel. The palladium is used as a cathode and an electrolysis setup, and extra heat and neutron production are usually observed. There are several types of cold fusion. The low energy nuclear reaction, a lattice activated nuclear reaction, and a condensed matter nuclear science. The history of cold fusion is that Pons and Fleischmann over here at the University of Utah, and I just happened to be just a few miles away from there when that announcement was made. A friend of mine went to that conference. It was very interesting. They were attacked vehemently in the scientific community, and they were chased out of the United States, went to the United Kingdom, and the Japanese eventually began experimenting in earnest and are tending today to be the foremost country in developing cold fusion. Dr. Edmund Storms of Los Alamos has done a great job in documenting the successful reproductions of Pons and Fleischmann's experiments, and there are now devices that are being built around cold fusion. I'll talk about that. One is the energy catalyzer developed by Andrea Rossi and his cold fusion technology over in Italy. As of 2014, he demonstrated his first megawatt unit in Italy and has been validated. There are 124 patents worldwide, including industrial heat in the United States. And they are now waiting for a certification with a 10 kilowatt home unit. They use an input of natural gas plus a solid fuel, and the electric output has a coefficient of performance of 2 to 10. And so far, there's no radiation or radioactive materials resulting from this process. And I'm just showing here a conceptual drawing of this, a conceptual rendition of this home unit. As it might look very small and, produced on the order of 10 kilowatts of energy for the home. There have been problems. With getting this out there for Andrea Rossi. They've got a lawsuit with Industrial Heat, so Industrial Heat was not able to reproduce the unit, and so there's still opposition to trying to get cold fusion out there, but it appears that Andrea Rossi himself has demonstrated that, and I think we can look forward to this technology in the future. Another way to use water is through cavitation technology. The company Nanospire, Mark Leclerc, and most recently Maury King has talked about this in a number of his presentations. Very interesting technologies, whereby you initiate a laser pulse into the water, and it creates these cavitation in the water, and that cavitated water then collapses and produces energy, and it can be directed. It has been found that it can be used to transmute materials, and it also generates free energy. According to Nanospire, 2,900 watts you can obtain from an 850 watt input. Applications that Mark Leclerc is investigating is for use in cold fusion, for microsurgery, efficient solar cells, for producing biodiesel, and power from, as I mentioned, cold fusion. Another company that uses water is Blacklight Power, or now Brilliant Power. Their fuel from that water technology is based on the hydrino theory developed by Rendell Mills, and he believes that fits into a proposed grand unified theory and a new theory of the electron, the hydrino theory, in which the electrons are collapsed into a smaller orbit, and then when they return to the original orbit, they give off extra energy. And you can go to brilliantpower.com to find out about this. It's an interesting process. They use water and molten silver, insert it into plasma, generates a light a very brilliant light, and then they use voltaic cells to convert that light into electricity. And the output power is 100 times the input power, or 10 to the sixth, thousand or a million kilowatt hours per liter of water. So that is a very efficient device. And so that is getting off the ground, and they hope to have some smaller units in addition to the larger unit that they're working with. It's similar to a fuel cell, except that inert gas plus a trace of H2O water vapor surrounds the electrodes. The input current drives the action, and the output power is 10 times the input power. Here is a smaller unit where you can see the electrodes, which then light the solar cells. It's an emerging business. California Institute of Technology has validated the claims of operation in the hydrino theory, and it's currently developing a 250 kilowatt unit, smaller than a car engine. Brilliant Power now has license to produce approximately 8,250 megawatts of new electrical power for 7 different companies. So there are companies that are now beginning to license that, and so this is a real technology that is now getting out there. A friend of mine who has worked with dissociation of water, HHO, also has a connection to the populations of Africa, particularly South Africa, and through his church. And he's a longtime inventor. He's over 80 years old and has developed a water pump and uses the water to fuel the pump. And he has developed this. It is now proved it out, and he will be soon deploying it over in South Africa. Generac has expressed an interest in this device. He uses a plasma spark plug that was designed by Murakami. You can go down and buy plasma spark plugs. I recommend this. They're much more efficient for your motors, give you a 20% increase in efficiency in your car motors. They are expensive. And he can recharge a battery from this device. It will raise water 500 feet to go over the hill, and can be built in kit form, so it's easy assembly at the site. So, for instance, other applications might be remote cattle farmers who have to pump the water from remote streams to get it to their cattle, because the FDA here does not allow the cattle to defecate in the waters, in the streams. So one use. Here's the pictures of those. It's a fairly simple device and working very well at this point in time. So this may be available to the public in the future. A device that's maybe not over Unity, but it's off the grid. It's used locally. It's a fuel cell. This company was started in 2002. Uses a solid oxide fuel cell, ceramic plates, and uses liquid or gaseous hydrocarbons to drive it. There are 200 servers that have been deployed. That's what they call an energy device by corporations that include eBay, Google, Yahoo, and Walmart, particularly in the Bay Area, San Francisco here. A 100 kilowatt energy service would cost $700,000 to $800,000 each. So they have a little different business model. Not everybody can afford one of these, so they lease them out. But the big advantage, instead of you buying them, so that's their business model. They retain ownership of the server, and the business pays for the power used. The cost of electricity is about 0.08 to 0.10 versus an average of 0.14 cents per kilowatt hour of the most recent data. There's a plan to install portable energy service in third world countries also. Don't know exactly what those plans are right now. It has a 50% conversion efficiency and improving, and it has a replacement period of 10 years. But I'm bringing this up because Number one, it's efficiency, and it gets you off the grid. But it's a good, and I think it's a good business model. Here's an example of the servers. Bringing us to the next topic of free energy technologies, magnetic motors. There's a lot of magnetic motors being worked on by free energy inventors out there. And this particular one is the Tawari reactionless space energy generator. It's a magnetic motor generator based on the De Palma machine, which basically used a motor to drive a commutator and charge batteries with it, and also a generator. So it turns out that by using a controller by which you can control the back EMF in the coils, you can turn that back EMF into a positive force instead of a negative resistance, and begin to get an over unity. Peter Lindemann looked in an old textbook, and theoretically, you should be able to get 2 times the power out of the input based on this approach. Mr. Tawari plans to go into production this year. He will produce 10 and 25 kilowatts units for the public to purchase, and the Indian government says they will not oppose that production. And the latest I understand is that they are setting up the manufacturing units for these devices. So maybe that's where you'll get your first unit, is from India. Other self-running electromagnetic motors, and I've just listed them out there, and they come from a conference that's held every year in Idaho, put on by Peter Lindemann and Murakami. And you can go to emediapress.com to find out about that conference, Energy Technology Conference, I believe it's called. The Bedini motors, John Bedini's been around a long time talking about his motors. And again, he uses magnets to basically flash coils while using transistor controllers to reverse the back EMF in his favor. And I worked with this. That's the picture on my very first chart. Is a Bedini little Bedini kit to experiment with. And it turns out you use the oscilloscope, and you find out there's some very high voltage spikes that are put into batteries, and that approach makes the battery a negative resistor, attracting free energy. And then you use the battery then to energy to run the motor. And this is kind of the basic approach that all of these take, but in a little different form. The external field interaction motor by Paul Babcock uses switching circuits to circumvent Lenz's law, very similar. Jim Murray has developed his own version of that. He converts AC motors into free running motors, and starting to open source that out there. There are plasma impulse motors which reduce the resistance of the magnetic coils and shows negative resistance using special capacitors. So then you get into the capacitor, special storage device, and I think there's a whole opportunity there to redesign capacitor. We're talking about supercapacitors, so that the supercapacitors start to almost look like batteries at this point. There's the magnetic implosion transformer by Grant Gunderson. It uses a compression of magnetic fields as a driver. So you have a magnet going against a magnet, and then he uses that to produce an over-unity system. There's a Scotch yoke solenoid motor, and this acts like a car cylinder with a pulsing of a solenoid. So you have a rod going through a solenoid, and as you know, when you pulse that coil, it will drive the coil out, either attract or drive the rod out of that coil. So you can put that into a rotating driver system, like the piston rods in a car motor. So those are a summary of the electromagnetic, and there's many more out there. Just don't have time to go through all the technologies that are out there available right now. But more and more, they're getting close to perhaps being mass marketed and mass manufactured and mass marketed. Excuse me while I take another drink. Ball lightning, very interesting phenomena. A gentleman who was also an aerospace engineer decided to focus his attention on how ball lightning occurs, and he developed a bell jar, did not take all of the air out of it, but created an arc within that bell jar, developed a plasma, and he found out that what he could do is develop plasma toroids around the main arc. And that plasma, then if you got two toroids, plasma toroids, you could then collapse them to create fusion energy. So he's in the latter process, parts of that research to demonstrate that, and he fully expects to be able to do that. What's interesting is he has achieved 100 times greater ion densities than the tokamak, where they spent billions of dollars, and here he spent his own money. He has been unable to attract money from NASA or the Navy, where he's tried. He does have an MIT scientist on board with him who believes in his work, and his goal is a clean fusion power for the home. So God bless Clint Seward, and good luck on that one. Another technology that Tesla started 100 years ago was his wireless power transmission, Weidencliff Tower, in which he had the vision of using the Earth and the atmosphere as a capacitor tuned to his coil, would then resonate and generate power, and you could tap into the Earth and collect that power anywhere on the Earth. Well, the investors and the bankers shut him down, and we haven't seen that come out then for the last 100 years. But the Coen brothers, being sponsored by the IEEE Society here in the United States in Austin, has solved a lot of the original problems with that and updated that system and have demonstrated their own system. They have plans for a major deployment at sites around the globe under corporate charter with updated patents, and the funding is already in place for several third world countries. They plan to, this will require development of power receivers and connections to current energy and power systems. So this will develop over time and transition into the mainstream. But they do have an initial demonstration plan for this year. I believe it's in Chile. They're going to use a dam as an input power and transmit the power 50 miles up toward a mountaintop. Here's the original Weidencliff power, and then you just had your own receivers that were put in the ground, and they demonstrated out to several kilometers, but it was never fully deployed. Another friend, Larry Woods, and his magnifying energy coil, limited energy technologies, and I believe he's going to talk about that. But I'm very impressed with it. It's a toroidal coil using multiple circuits with unique and proprietary windings. It's based on old ancient vortex math, which eliminates all the eddy currents and the outside magnetic interference and acts more like a semiconductor at room temperature. It acts like a magnetic field amper. In fact, he gets 10 times output current of the input current is the same voltage. And so you can see that this could be hooked into any energy device. So solar and panels and wind panels, if you put this coil on the end of that, you could reduce those the solar panels and the wind mill sizes by a factor of 10. Big cost reduction. Or you simply take the power off the grid and you multiply by a factor of 10, and everything in your house is much more efficient. And then we can start integrating current devices in the house with this, and technology just begins to, there's a domino effect in all this once this gets deployed. But again, Larry's having a hard time attracting investors and the academicians. He's approached Baylor University to validate this, and they say simply that copper is copper, and what he is doing is not real, and he can't do it, but he demonstrates it. So academia needs to, fly straight, and like I say, get beyond the square root of minus one, and relook at the old electrical laws, the Ohm's laws that were created empirically 100 years ago, and look at it in terms of modern science. Here's a device that is in the marketplace, the Hydrolite. It has an extended power source. It uses proprietary materials in salt water, and with a total usable power equivalent to 85 AA batteries for 250 hours of continuous use. It powers an LED lantern and USB port, and this is used primarily for camping, charging cell phones, emergency lighting, small reading lights, and so forth. So Jim Rodney and the company he's working with has come up with a real product that is now out there and demonstrated we can get free energy and to work. Let's go to the water turbine. Mike Waters, some of you may know, has demonstrated a new concept of a wind turbine and can be a water turbine that uses a squirrel cage concept where air is directed into the turbine axis, not from the side, and then goes into the axis, and then the air subsequently goes out the sides, as in a squirrel cage motor. It captures 100% of the air, water, and 90% of the kinetic energy. Large wind turbines in the wind farms only capture 5% of the air, so they're very inefficient from that standpoint. These Mike Waters wind turbine can generate electrical energy at 2 miles per hour wind speeds, and the centrifugal action actually expands the air and captures the heat. So it in the end, thermodynamically, it ends up being an over-unity device from the standpoint of thermodynamic science. Applications include a small turbine generator for home and industrial use or use in wind farms. It has a very small footprint, so it can be very low to the ground and not noisy, nor does it kill birds. And there's a possibility of creating a closed-loop system where you then charge batteries and create a wind flow system of your own in a closed-loop system without wind. So, and have extra power on top of that. Here's the water turbine on the right, which captures 100% of the air, whereas the big 30-foot turbines propellers only capture 5%. And you can see this is going to be much less expensive to produce. Here's a prototype on the left and shows the airflow over here on the right. Another technology, and I put it under the free energy technology because of its efficiency and can actually work with fuels that are recyclable, renewable. He's a machinist, Rafael Magado of Angel Labs. He's a machinist, and he's produced a number of versions of this motor. He's showing here in this picture a 25-pound motor that has equivalent torque and power of a truck diesel engine. Now, how big is that? And reducing the size, you can put those in a small one of those versions in the home with little fuel. This is huge. Yet he, again, has not been able to attract the big investors. And like a lot of inventors, he's just hard to work with, and he has great demands for what he wants to get from investors. Potential applications include auto truck engines and boats. He's put put them into a backpack thruster. You could use them in drones, vertical takeoff vehicles, hovercraft, and he has proposed it for a geothermal pump. Potential investors that have approached him and he's talked to is the Australian military, and he's actually talked to the Tesla Corporation about the hydrothermal pump. This mighty yet tiny engine has been demonstrated using fuels including biofuels, just straight air, compressed air. He's demonstrated on compressed air. He's demonstrated with steam input and geothermal gases. An anecdote of this: Sterling Allen visited Mergado and was riding in a car in which he had this motor, and they got up over 30 miles an hour, and Raphael said, we are now running on air. So there was no other fuel input besides the outside air. And I think that nitrogen may have been an aspect of that. So here's a great device that just needs to get out there. Still looking for investors. As I say, they've been approached by the Tesla company, Australians, and some aircraft companies have also put queries out to him. So, and I could not, talk about free energy technology in this day without talking about Keshe and his Keshe plasma energy technologies. Currently, as most of you know, many of you know, Keshe was an engineer in Iran, and he got chased out of Iran. He developed his own Keshe Foundation and brought some engineers along and began an experiment with the technologies that he was experimenting with. And he has now supposedly developed several, including the plasma reactor generator, a Maglev power system that you can buy for 500 euros to 300 euros, and he calls them a donation. Some assembly required, with 90 days delivery. I know 2 or 3 people who have ordered those, and 1 or 2 have received those, but I haven't heard back on how they're doing. I have heard that there's hit and miss on these working, but it's hard to get information on it and to whether they work with household systems, how efficient they are, how easy they are to install, and so forth. But there seems to be some promise there. But I think there's a lot of work to be done, but we need to follow what he's doing, and hopefully others will take on this research and amplify it on. He's developed a Maglev power car system, and the KFI, I can't remember what that was, and an SSI pain pen. I went to a seminar on the SSI pain pen, and it's just coils within coils within coils. And the gentleman who put them together based on instructions he had didn't understand, the science of it. And so he didn't necessarily, he did the coatings, the nano coatings of the wiring. He didn't know whether how you hook the coils together properly. And so when I tried out the pain pen, I didn't get any results from it. And I have my own ideas about how it should be constructed. So it takes some understanding, some knowledge, and some more experimentation here to make his technology work. Again, there's a whole new science seems to be here in this plasma energy technology having to do with nanotechnology, and he calls it plasmatic magnetic energy, specific entangled fields, gravitational positioning of electrons. There's Keshe's neutron model. There's gravity involved. There's a new principle of magnetism. There's plasmatic magnetic fields, and all of these lead to his plasma reactor. There's a lot of new science and something new to understand, and potential here for understanding potential technologies coming out of what Keshe is doing. But I think he's got a ways to go. He's got a ways to to go to educate the public on what he is doing. Here's a demo of a plasma reactor in which you just use a Coca-Cola bottle and add which plus caustic soda, sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide, and let it set. The carbon coats out on the electrodes, gives off CO2. And the theory of the carbon coating is graphene, which is all structured like a diamond, also creates a atomic hydrogen. So potential that this is where the energy is coming from. Measurements show that you can see the electrodes in this Coke bottle. There's 50 millivolts to 600 millivolts here. So some demonstration of something going on here. And that's as far as I've gone and seen. And I plan to do a little more research, but I have not got very far on that. Overall, I've visited numbers of inventors and devices and technologies, and in each case, they're kind of like me. These inventors are absorbed in their technology and their invention, and they're geniuses in some cases, but they don't know how to proceed through the business world and get this out into the market, and they need help. Here, I put together an example of an idea in the market process. Starting out with an idea, and you develop a prototype, and you got to have money to do that. And then you start looking for funds to help you develop your engineering prototype. Then you have to have funding to get to the next level of manufacturing prototype, get to the business level. And there's a whole lot of engineering, research, and development goes on in here in between. Remember, I'm a system engineer and project manager, and so I've done this with the big, development of missiles and so on and so forth. So there's a whole process you got to go through to prove this out and get it to market. And the market itself, of course, is a whole business unto itself, and that's a whole new understanding. So what I'm talking about here's some professionalism in the processes, and professionalism in the engineering, professionalism in the developing of companies and operating of companies and manufacturing of these units. So I think that's one of the challenges that we face, on top of other challenges in suppression, the utilities, the fossil fuel companies, oil companies, and the naysayers in academia itself, who's stuck in the textbooks that they created from many years ago. So I think that what we need is in the development of free energy technology and getting out there is establishment of new energy incubators. There are incubators out there working with universities. We need to work with them. We need to establish private research and development labs. We need educational systems, conferences, continue to support conferences and expand them. We need legislative action to open up government funding. Start with state-funded programs and bring in light items into the national R&D. 3 years ago, we had a $20 billion energy budget, and only less than 0.2% were put toward these type of technologies and alternative energy. That's just shameful. We need to engage university science and R&D and their R&D programs and get them converted over. We need continued sponsorship of the free energy conferences. Here's a few. Extraordinary Technology Conference in Albuquerque, the Breakthrough Energy Movement Conference. Evolve and Thrive have their own conferences and awareness that they're putting out there. We need to establish funding sources. Crowdfunding, of course, is a way to get funding. We need the involvement of venture capitalists, angel investors, and free energy R&D. We need corporate free energy research and development. In any big project in the development marketing of a new device technology, 10% of that should be plowed back on the profits, plowed back into free energy research and development. and then get corporate sponsorship of free energy research and development centers. So free energy is the future. Technologies are for real. Inventors are out there demonstrating them. They have been researching over the past 100 years that they've met a lot of suppression, a lot of resistance, a lot of opposition. And we've talked about that. They've been suppressed. This technology has been suppressed. Free energy is now coming out into the open, though, and we need to support this free energy through education and public awareness. And so that's all I'm going to cover today, but thank you very much for your time.